Hey there. Oh, no, 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 no. I have to take this seriously. Today is a serious day because, well, I've come to realize an issue lately, and it's the fact that the internet is plagued with something very serious, and I think not a lot of us talk about, and that's pirating. Now, you might hear some people say things like, I love pirating. Pirating is good. Pirating is morally acceptable. And I'm here to say, I disagree. I think it's unfair that we steal from these family-owned corporations. I think that's unjust and, quite frankly, unacceptable, especially when it comes to Adobe. I don't think there's any company in the world more deserving of anything good. What? There's not a company more deserving of success and fair purchasing than Adobe. What other company can charge you $200 a year for 2 apps you barely use, using terrible AI features and a service that charges you to cancel a subscription? God bless their souls. So that's why I'm making this video, to spread the message of not pirating by showing you all how to not pirate Adobe software, because pirating Adobe software specifically is one of the many examples of what's wrong with the world. But I'm going to share with you guys exactly how not to fall down this rabbit hole of pirating Adobe software. Now, the first step is to identify the threats that plague the inclination of pirating. What you don't want to do is look up anything related to Gen P. What is Gen P, you may ask? Gen P is the evil of this world and should not be accepted. So you don't want to Google Gen P Adobe hack in your search bar, and you don't want to go to Reddit, where you'll find a full page dedicated to Gen P. Now, avoiding this step entirely, not great. You want to know what the threat is, but you also just want to be careful, you know? You want to know it exists just as you know a bear exists in the forest. Yeah, that made sense. Now, what you're not gonna want to do is follow the download directory guide and click on Gen P 3.5.0, as that is the current updated Gen P service. You don't want to do this. And you definitely don't want to disable any kind of virus detecting software in your browser so that you can download the Gen P service and then drag it to your desktop and unzip it. You don't want to do this because that's bad. But good for us, Microsoft Windows Defender, the firewall, will actually prevent you from being able to download the file because it's bad. It is bad. So you definitely don't want to go into privacy and security, Windows security, and virus threat protection, and you want to make sure it's not off. You want to make sure it's not off. Otherwise, you'll be able to download the Gen P tool and will then lead you down a path of criminality. And you definitely don't want to go under virus and threat protection settings, the manage settings portion, and you don't want to click on add or remove exclusions, and you don't want to locate the Gen P folder you just extracted into your computer, so that way I keep trying to say Defender Firewall at the same to Firewall. You don't want to exclude this folder because that would be bad. The next step to avoiding such disgusting behavior like pirating Adobe software would be to avoid downloading Creative Cloud. Now, obviously, you can download Creative Cloud if it means you're going to pay for the service you pay for. If you're going to pay for the service that you so rightfully want to purchase. If you're wanting to just buy the product, if you're not an asshole. But if you are an asshole, you're going to download Creative Cloud, log in with an account you don't already have, not download ASG, which is AGS, Adobe Genuine Service, and you're going to make sure you don't download that if you're an asshole. I'm switching up the tone of this. I'm just going to say what an asshole would do. I'm not an asshole because I would never do this. I love Adobe. I love their products, and I love paying $200 a year for 2 apps that I barely touch. Moving on. So what an asshole would do is once it's installed, they'd go to Menu, File, and then Preferences. Now, what you're going to do in Preferences, what you would do if you were an asshole, would be to uncheck Launch Creative Cloud at login, run Creative Cloud in the background after closing, and automatically keep Creative Cloud up to date. If you are a good Samaritan, you want to make sure these are all checked. So everyone watching this video would keep all of these boxes checked if they're good Samaritans. Now, let's say you've accidentally downloaded the GenP, you did all of the things that you weren't supposed to do, and you have GenP downloaded onto your computer. What do you do after that? Well, it's simple. You want to make sure to not run GenP as an administrator, and then you don't want to open the application. And you don't want to make sure Adobe Creative Cloud is closed all the way by going into menu, file, and then close Adobe Creative Cloud. You then don't want to have Adobe GenP open, and you don't want to have always search for ACC checked when you go to the options tab of first opening up this product. Make sure to not push save options. Now, when you're in this menu, you definitely don't want to click search, because you don't want to have something looking through your files for where other files are. That's dangerous. But let's say you accidentally click on the left mouse button and you click search and it finds where you have downloaded the Adobe Creative Cloud. You then definitely don't want to push the patch button. Pushing the patch button would then patch. That's the extent of what that does. And then once it's found that, and once it's patched, it'll bring you to the log screen. If you've reached this step, you're a criminal, or you're really stupid and you decided to pick the path of evil versus good. You're going to hell. I want this to be known. This is my PSA. Once you haven't patched Adobe Creative Cloud, you don't want to open up the Creative Cloud and install all the apps that you want to use for free. Why would you use them for free? You need to pay for good stuff. That's how the economy works. That's how everyone keeps their job. So as a good Samaritan, you wouldn't have to worry about anything else I've talked about, because you just downloaded Creative Cloud with no other ulterior motives, and you're paying $200 for maybe 2 apps you're using. Oh, you're using more than that? You're probably paying more too, but you'll do it out of the goodness of your heart. But let's say you're one of these evil, disgusting criminals. Then what you're going to want to do is install all of these apps after the previous steps I just said. Once you've installed all the apps, do not open them. Do not open them, is what I would say if I was endorsing criminals. But for the criminals, they wouldn't want to open the apps after installing them, because that would be bad. No, what the criminals would then do is go to menu, file, and then quit Creative Cloud. They would then go back to the disgusting, horrendous GenP app, go down and make sure to uncheck always search for Adobe Creative Cloud, because the criminals wouldn't want to be checking for the same thing they keep patching. That's ridiculous. They would already patched that, but they're stupid, so they wouldn't do this. And then you would not want to push the search button again. Now, I already told you what not to do. Surely you wouldn't push the search button again. I think it's that simple. But there's not a whole lot going on in there, and you accidentally push the search button again. I pray for you. I really do. But let's say you search and it accidentally finds all of the files you just downloaded and all of the apps you want for free. You disgusting freak. You then wouldn't want to push the green patch button. And I know some people are going to look at that button and be like, oh, it's and some will. Some will have the will to not push that button. But the filthy criminals will push the patch button in order to patch every app from updating its service, and then give them access to free Adobe apps. Disgusting, disgusting animal. Now, once those apps have been patched, what you wouldn't want to do would be to open the apps through their .exe files. What does this mean? It basically means don't open it through the Creative Cloud. I don't know what maniac does that normally, but you would never do this. Never do this. If you were a criminal, of course. You would never want to open it through the Creative Cloud, only through the .exe, which you can look up by literally just looking up the app, and you'd have no issues. And then just like that, these disgusting criminals have access to free Adobe products. So I hope you all took something from this, that pirating is evil, and it's up to you to inform yourself of the dangers and learn what to do to prevent yourself from going to the dark side, aka socialism. I don't know what that had to do with anything I've talked about, but I hope I was able to help you out today, and I hope I was able to share this PSA with the right kind of people. Thank you for watching my TED Talk. All of you have a beautiful day. On a slightly real note, when it comes to stuff like this and downloading anything that's not of Defender Firewall Alliance, It's always good to have a suspicion with these things. If you're unsure that this is safe for your computer, don't do it. And I genuinely do not recommend people do this. This was educational. I'm teaching you how to avoid these steps. That's what this video was, of course. And we all know this. But yeah, when it comes to these links and what could be hidden in them, I mean, up to you, whatever you do. If my instructions were not clear enough or you were not faithful enough to follow what I said and you just think I'm full of shit, the Gen P subreddit is going to be the best way to not pirate Adobe software, because that would be absolutely terrible. So don't pirate Adobe software. Don't do it. That was it. Goodbye.